All right, welcome back. So, in the previous lecture, if I didn't scare you, we saw Boolean logic and then a table which contains the different comparison signs. So that means we're going to pick up right where we left off, and we're going to see how we can chain together simpler Boolean statements, like the one that we just saw, into more complicated statements that have multiple components. So they're still all going to evaluate to be true or false at the end of the day, but there might be some multiple pieces that individually evaluate to be true or false before the entire thing becomes true or false. You follow? So there are three logical operators, and like I said, this is basically a way to chain together the logic. But don't worry, because these two are very useful. So these three logical operators are called and, or, and not. All right, so let's first talk about using and. So let's have a look at the way that and works. First of all, you write it with two ampersands. And you can see right here that we're using it in an example where x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 8. All right, so the and operator takes two sides. There's a left side and a right side, and then the and operator goes in the middle. So the way that you would read this is x greater than 7 and x triple equal to string 10. All right, so we'll evaluate both sides. X is greater than 10. You know that to be true. X triple equal to string 10, and that is false. So we end up with true on the left-hand side and false on the right-hand side. And then the way that the and operator works is that it requires both sides to be true. So it requires both of them to be true, the left and the right. And, well, it's not true in this case. Only the left side is true. So that renders the entire thing to be false. Make sense? So let's have a look at the way that the or operator works, because it's slightly different. It takes both sides as well, but it only requires that one of these sides are true. All right, so the left or the right will be true in order for the whole thing to be true. So two of these signs is how you write the or operator in JavaScript. So the left side x is greater than y. That is true because x is 10 and y is 8. Or y is less than 5, which is false because y is 8. So we end up with the true or false, which evaluates to be true overall. All right? Because the or only requires one side to be true. All right, so lastly, we have the not operator. And the way that the not operator works is, again, just a little bit different, but you'll follow me. It doesn't take a left or a right side. It just negates or flips the value of whatever we apply it to. So if something was true and we put a not operator in front of it, then it becomes false. So if something was false and we put a not operator in front of it, what does it do? It then becomes true. So in this case, we see a little bit of a complicated statement, perhaps. We have a statement inside the brackets, and then outside of it, we use a not operator. All right, so y is not equal to string 8, but as you can see here, we used an exclamation mark and a double equals, which means this is going to evaluate not only the value, but also the data types, right? I'll repeat that. It's going to evaluate not only the value, but also these data types. All right, so in this case, it's true because our y variable is a number, and this is a string. So I mean, inside of the brackets, this is true, but then there's a not operator here. So outside the brackets, that's going to change this true value to be false. All right, so let's go ahead and give it a shot with a quick exercise. Let's go to our console. And here I'm going to create a variable. So I'll say var a equals to 15 in our console. And we'll say var b is 11. Now let's start to write out our statement. So I'll say that a is greater than b inside the parentheses on the left-hand side, and or operator, and an exclamation mark, and then a parentheses, and then inside of it I'll say b is not equal to string 11, and then I'll stick in an and operator, and a equals to string 15. All right, so let's have a look at this. So you see here at the bottom, the result of this statement is true. All right, so let's go back and evaluate this example. So here we said A is greater than B, and yeah, that's true, because A is 15 and B is 11. And you know what? Actually, this whole statement is really not important at the moment, because we can see the result is going to be true just by looking at this side. Do you see that? Because there is an or operator at the middle. Good. And the or operator requires that just one side to be true, and then the whole result is going to be true. So in our case, the left-hand side is true. So that means that the whole statement is going to be true, and we don't need to look over at the right side here to be able to see the result. Because even if the right side gets a false value, it doesn't matter, right? Because the or operator requires just one side to be true. All right. Nevertheless, I do want to look, and I know it's eating away at your head too, huh? I do want to have a look at the other side. Okay, so on the right-hand side here, we do see a parenthesis. So first we said B is not equal to string 11, and that's false. Because here we used an exclamation mark and just one equal sign, so that means it's going to look at just the values, not the data type. And here the values are equal, so this is false. Now let's look at the other side of the AND operator. Now here we said A equals to string 15. And yeah, it's true, because again, here we used a double equal. So that means that this is going to evaluate just the values, not the data type. All right, so this is true. So the left side of the AND operator is false, and the right side is true. You're keeping up, right? So do you remember that the AND operator requires both sides to be true? And here the left side is false and the right side is true. So that means the result of the parenthesis is false, because there's an AND operator here. But there is an exclamation mark at the outside of the parenthesis here, and this is going to change the false values, which come from the inside of the parenthesis. It's going to change it to be true. So when we look at the whole statement, the left side of the OR statement is true, and the right side is true as well. So the whole statement is going to be returned as a true value to us. That is so freaking cool. Okay, great. So in the next section, we are actually going to see how we make decisions in JavaScript using these Boolean logical expressions that we've just talked about. We're going to get into how do we run some code if something is false, and how do we run some other code if something is true. All right, so we're going to take a pause right here and then continue in the next section. I'll see you there.